when the final streetcar sighs its last breath into the fog, and the veil between worlds grows thin, that is when we answer the unknown caller. We listen for the whispers that drift through the static from the other side of the line.
Howdy, 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 howdy. I hope you're doing good on this otherwise good night. In case you haven't heard, Dolly Parton has passed away. She will always be remembered as a legend in her own right. I jokingly called her a vampire. I didn't think she would ever pass away. Her and Cher. It just seemed weird to me that they have. But the lines are open, and out. If you guys call in, and there is a someone on the line, if you want to leave a voicemail, and I will call you back if that's fine with you. That's one of the ways around missing your call. So, but yeah, it is a sad thing. Sad thing for in that world. And I mean, I knew there was problems up there. I didn't know, they really haven't said why she passed away, but I read an article where they said that she was battling kidney stones, and I mean, I have kidney stones. I have kidney stones I can't get rid of, and that is just wild to me. But yeah. Anyway, rest in peace, Dolly Parton. Yeah, we'll always think of you. But anyway, how are you guys doing? It is got terribly cold here in my area. For some reason, I believe that we're going to have a bad winter roll up, and well, I mean, I believe that we're going to have a bad winter, as winter approaches and everything else. But it's gotten a lot colder. It's colder than it normally is. Normally around this time, you could sit on the porch and drink iced tea and enjoy everything. But and especially around midnight, if you want to, and kind of hang out and just sort of soak it in. But it's, other than the cats, there's nothing really out there except for possums and bats, and it's just cold. The whole, it seems like the whole planet has changed dramatically or shifted, and people are seeing different things. I hope that you guys are prepared for whatever may come, weather-wise. I'm a friend of the channel, one that has been on before, Tuck, Friar Tuck. He has made his way back to his property in Arizona, and he's encountered some things, and I will connect with him later on, not tonight, but he's I didn't know if you guys were following him or anything like that, but he's got some crazy stuff that's probably going on. But he sent me a message earlier. He was talking about one of his neighbors claiming that there's a witch out there that's a skinwalker. And I was like, how cool would it be to get a skinwalker on the show? That would definitely be interesting. But it is what it is. As the channel grows and as more people figure out about it, and I've over during the course of the day, I posted some shout outs and stuff and a few British groups, from ghost hunting and urban explorer groups, and I did some other things, to see if I can drive traffic and interesting stories in here. One of the things a lot of people don't get, as writers, you want to hear people's stories. You want to hear them talk and discuss and things they've been through. That way you can, it kind of adds a collection to, if you use your dreams as stories, or if you talk to people and you use those as stories or whatever, and it provides a good counterweight. There was a time when I was working on certain things, I kind of like alienated myself from people, and I didn't really talk to anybody, and I still don't to some degree. But a lot of my stuff can get unhinged, and I, anyway. But anyway, like I said, I'm, for the ones that do show up tonight, I'm glad you're here. This is the third episode of The Unknown Caller. We need to work on that. And like I said, I hope everyone is doing well. I had some other stuff that I wanted to go over, and I gotta see if I can find it. Some stuff I was talking about last night. Never really got a chance to. And I think that might be it. Okay. Under Australia's soil. Okay. Let me back up so you know what I'm talking about. There is one of the reasons we want to go to the moon is for something called hydrogen 3. And as far as we know, the only place that it was ever found was on the moon in space, within the regolith for the soul. And China wants it because they can make fucking super weapons out of it, and they can make clean energy and stuff like that. We want it for the same reason. Russia has been attempting to get it over and over again. But, that's the reason when you hear like, oh, we need to mine the moon, that's what they're talking about. They can give a shit less than anything else unless they discover something new they haven't told us about, which they probably have. But one of the main things they're after is hydrogen 3. There was a recent study in Australia. Australia just become a epicenter for clean energy. And I really hope we get clean energy to some degree. We either have a choice here to burn more coal or to burn more oil, to have oil wars and things like we have been. And, if we're having an oil war, if we're having a resource wars, that means we're going to have resource wars for other things. Like we're going to have resource wars for water, like the other story I did. We're going to have resource wars for food. We're going to have resource wars for you don't really know what to call it. You can either call it, by its individual parts or a series of events. But, like right now we're having an oil war, and we've been having an oil war, and we're having a start of a water war, and there's a lot of places that are actively working on those solutions. And one of the solutions for clean water is a clean energy source, because they can take and pull the water from the sea and desalinate it, and which takes an enormous amount of power. And there's also other benefits that people look into, because there's actually gold within the seawater. You just can't get it. It's hard to get out, and other minerals and things like that. And we're really good about finding stuff we need and extracting that from various sources. And we just have some problems, doing so. But anyway, back to Australia. In Australia, there's some of the largest iron deposits, and they believe that they're harboring this hydrogen 3 and other hydrogens. So if they have a solid form of hydrogen that is just buried within the soil. They have access to a unique source of clean burning fuel, and um, who knows what might come out of Australia. Um, it's definitely something that's strangely flagged up there as it might be a standing point within the war. And you know, if you followed any of the politics in that region, and I have, I mean, it just interests me. Actually, I have a friend down there. Um, China has been trying to move in on that place for a very long time, and that's the reason why we're like helping them build submarines, and we're trying to counter everything that China offers Australia. But you know they're very, either want to work with you or work with them or work with both or whatever. And sometimes they don't realize what's going on, I think, and some of them do. But it's a mix of Western and woke society. But anyway, I hope they get to act together, because I think that's going to be a flashpoint at some point within our near future, just like Iran. I know there's a lot of stuff going on with that. I haven't checked today's news when it comes to Iran, and I may hear in a little bit, but yeah, another thing that popped up from Australia is that there was and I found this oddly interesting. Another thing is the megafauna down there, the plant life, the species, the old life, and that some people believe that Australia was the beginning, or at least the area beginning of like the evolution of humanity, or at least nature in itself. And a bunch of researchers done an analysis on a bunch of bones that were found in these two separate underwater cave systems in South Australia, and it has started providing a new framework for investigating animal remains and extinct megafauna, and how these things come to rest within these underwater environments. Um, you know, because it's people like Grant Hancock and other things are starting to be proven right that about these flood myths and things. And the in my opinion, the archaeology world is clenching their cheeks a little bit, because um, they've either been knowingly hiding something, or they've been adaptively believing whatever the first guy told them, and slowly continuing and creating a lie and perpetrating that lie to human civilization. And how we have understood everything seems to be countering itself to some degree in some way, which is very disturbing when you look at it in a larger picture. Me personally, our fathers and our grandfathers, our mothers, and everything else, and they tell us what they've encountered, they experienced, and what they've told, and we go to school and we learn the things that we learn, and these things are not correct. And so you have to ask yourself, are they purposely changing things? Like my son is homeschooled. Okay, any of my kids would be homeschooled, and the reason for that is because you can't. Most of the children today, well, since I don't know, 15 years ago, most of the children from about 15, 20 years ago, and that's a sad number to throw out there, but they can't properly read, and they definitely can't write. They don't know cursive. They don't. They're. You have 12th grade students that are just being passed along the way that read on a lower grade level than 5th grade, and everyone seems to think that this is fine. And you know, every culture wants a dumbed down version of the smart man. It's sad because if people only understand, if people can't pick up a book and can't read, then you basically have the same thing that you encountered in Nazi Germany. They wanted to burn the books so they could they could stop the flow of information, so you didn't understand what the other people were talking about. Well, they don't have to burn the books if you can't read them, if you don't understand them, if you can't comprehend them. If you go to a YouTube video, or if you go to whatever and you hear somebody like me or somebody else talk about it, and if they're wrong and they push this information, and you're like, well, what this guy is saying is gospel, then you have no way to verify that information. You have no way to. You just kind of have to accept it and say, well, okay, well, this is true. And at some point when we move forward, when they see lights in the sky that we would have known as drones, they could say they were aliens. They could say they were whatever. They see holograms, there's like magic to them again. Well, we society is starting to go backward and change and stay within a technological realm, and it is very, very disturbing. And I mean, I think in part we are experiencing this in another degree, and that comes with like cryptic ghosts and things like that. We don't understand what these things are or demons and angels and stuff like that. We don't or aliens. We don't understand what these are because we have lost this knowledge. This bits and pieces broken up here and there, and it's just all over the place. And you get to that point, and you really kind of wonder, like, is the stuff we're selling actually true? Is it something else? Is there some other reason why these entities and things are out there? And I don't know. This is some of the crazy stuff that comes through. And I mean, you see this over and over, and it's like you hear about new discovery after new discovery. Like they just had another new discovery of in Egypt, and there's a city called Mias, or supposedly, and they found all of these strange ancient inscriptions, all over these cavern walls and stuff within this Egyptian time, early Egyptian time, and they don't understand it, really. If you go to, if you go online and you search out like hieroglyphs and things like that, and there's surely there's large groups of people and so quote unquote experts that will say, okay, well, this is what these things mean. There's no guarantee they know that what these things mean, guys. The only reason we understand what the color blue is because we have a reference point, and that's probably not right. There's many shades of blue, and whoever come up with the original wording for blue, we don't know which shade they were referring to. There's just a lot of weird concepts there that the human mind needs to think about and investigate. And you can either whop them into one category and just accept all the bullshit everyone else tells you, or you can go and kind of look and find that. And if you have children, please God, make them, not make them, I don't want to say you make them do anything, but encourage them to go out and seek information and look and study and do things, because that is like one of the most important things we could possibly do, and I feel they're trying to take that away, and I feel they're trying to dumb that down, and me being on the internet and me doing what I do and everything else, I don't have a whole lot of room to talk, but and sure, I get on here and say some stupid stuff, and I get on my other channels and say some stupid stuff, and I get on gaming channels or TikTok or whatever and do some stupid shit, but there's a growing amount of people that this is the life, this is what they accept, I'm sure these are smart kids doing the things they're doing, but they've grown to accept it, and the kids that watch them want to do those things. I don't know. When I get to thinking about it, and I see the stuff that how things are going, I get slightly depressed, and I kind of wonder what direction we are headed to. And I think of that movie Idiosyncrasy, and I wonder if we're actually headed to that point. And I think we are. I do. It's a sad little situation. I don't know. I don't know if any of you are Stephen King fans. Sorry, I had to readjust myself. And if you can't hear me okay, please let me know. I had to readjust everything. My cat was decided to rework my stuff in here, and I haven't taken many calls with my computer today. But yeah, I think everybody can hear me good. But you, I got sidetracked there when I was thinking. Shit. Oh God, brain fart. Late night. That's one of the problems with late night, TV and radio shows. You get on, you start working on stuff, and you start thinking about things, and your mind travels and drifts and whatever, and you start thinking about other stuff. And I don't know. Yeah. Good, good. I mean, that is one of the other things I've noticed about the late night streams. I don't have a whole lot of interference. I don't have a whole lot of whatever. On another note, I think I might be actually sponsored. Oh, I was talking about education. I think I might be sponsored by this wonderful tube mic thing, and it will they're like high end mics. They've been following along the channel for a while, and some of my other stuff, and they're like, yeah, well, we might do it, and it will bring a warmth and tone to some of like the other storytellings, because like voice and transition, those, once you figure those out, you know seek that within the human mind. And that's one of the things that I worry about all the time. And that's another thing I think is getting lost within the transition of video making and storytelling. And I'm starting to see, like, the people losing the ability to create good content the way they used to. Um, and if you will know that if you go and you watch some of like older movies like 50s, 60s, 70s, and you can see the way things alter and change and the development from like analog to digital media. And I'm not going to go into a whole boring idea or course about how all that works, but if that kind of thing interests you, it's out there. There's a lot of good people that talk about the subject. And I do occasionally ramble on about it, but it is what it is. But yeah, you're going back to education. I think people are, we really need to change the education system, and we really need to, figure out what works and what doesn't, and, create a solid, unchangeable plan, where one generation can't come in and try to smoke everybody and say, well, all these people are bad and all these people are not, and then flip it back around, or, go full Christian or go full evil. I mean, there needs to be there needs to be a thing, is like, if your mom and dad is Christian, then you can go do the Christian thing. If your mom and dad is not Christian and you don't want to do that, then you should be able to do so. I mean, you shouldn't force anything on anybody, um, because then you run into the other stuff. You run into all the stuff that people get upset and lose their minds about. Yes, we need to abolish the Department of Education, but we also need to set up something that creates some kind of, like the basic idea behind the Department of Education, but not this Department of Education, if that makes any sense. We need to create something. I have no idea what that is. I don't have that kind of answer, but we definitely do need to fix something. Um, because what we have now is not working. What other countries have is not working. Um, oh, coffee's so good, guys. Coffee is so good. um, other news is they have started doing amazing work with like immune cells and things like that. As I was growing up, my mom, she dated a lot of men. There's no reason to get into that. But one of the good guys she dated or was with for a very long time was this gentleman. He was a deaf guy, and I had to learn sign language and everything else to communicate with him. Um, but he had been deaf since like I don't know, since he was 5. Um, but we actually have a cure for people like that. We actually have a cure for people who are deaf. We've gotten to a point where we almost have a cure for people who have blindness. Um, we have a cure for most cancers now, and I don't know how soon they'd be passed on and used, but they work. They solid work. Like the cure for deafness is they take and they inject this stuff, this immune cell stuff into your eardrum, and it fixes everything, and you can hear again. And like, wow. Um, but that brings up to something else that I was when I was like I go through a lot of stuff and I try to piece this stuff together and try to figure out what is this something I want to write about? Is this something I want to talk about? And I got bits and pieces that are interesting that don't make the bigger picture, but it's good information to kind of like toss out there. It's either weird, strange, or like, or this is different. And one of those things was, they started using immune cells, and they revealed they had this unique sense of touch, like the cells within our bodies, the immune cells, our red blood cells, our white blood cells, stuff like that, have the ability to feel. That is a real hard concept to wrap your head around if you think about it. Your cells have the ability to feel. Like if you bleed and your blood gets on like a table or rag or whatever, your blood can feel that even without inside your body. Our body operates as a collection, but everything else is separate. Everything else is working in a sense that it operates within the zone of itself. I guess that's a good way to say it. And they're this is something the ability to rewrite autoimmune problems. Within the same batch, they're human brain organoids or human brain cells have and they're doing a lot of work with this, and this is kind of creepy in my opinion. Um, I don't want to sound like one of the hicks that come out of the woods, but they're doing a lot of work with human brain cells, and they discovered that human brain cells have the ability to keep track of time, the amount of time they're out, and to me, if you have the ability, if you're something and you have the ability to keep track of time, then that is in a way a form of consciousness. You know, it like for example, if you're working and a lot of us, especially when you're younger and you got your first, second, third job and you want to get out of there, and you're always checking the clock. You're always looking at the clock, thinking, "Oh God, the time is to slow down. It's purposeful. I can't get out of it or whatever." And you know, that's consciousness. That's you knowing that time exists, you know, outside of yourself, and you have the ability to recognize and understand the time. And like I said, they're discovering that brain cells, the ones they're working and growing with, human brain cells. You know, they didn't say mice, they didn't say cat, rat, or whatever. You know, they're saying human brain cells, and they're growing these, and they've been growing them for a lot of other reasons too, which is friggin' creepy. They've been building these computers. These, the best way to explain it is called organic interfaces, just like the flesh interface. Um, you know, another story that has become a reality. But anyway, they built a fully fledged brain organic computer, and this thing is, you know, about the size of a regular computer. They have another one they displayed. It was almost the size of a server rack, and they got these other smaller ones that are probably like desktop. You know what? Something you would put on your desk, probably the size of a keyboard or whatever. And it only used like one brain cell, but these other ones use a bunch, and they have the ability to process new information and things like that. And if those have the ability to process and, you know, do information on quantum levels and things like that, and we just found out that brain cells have the ability to understand the concept of time and keep time, then, you know, what are we doing? we are you know, we're it doesn't seem right that we're manipulating, you know, the parts from the human body and utilizing them to enslave them in computers and things like that. Outside of it being interesting and the ability that we can do it, I do not think we should do it. I honestly do not think we should do it. I mean, there's going to become a time, and very soon, I believe, that we have, and that we will be faced with, you know, this type of computer system and computer systems at home and robots and things like that, and it's wrong. And you know, we already know that the rise of the adult. Yeah, but you're still aware of it. You know, you're still aware of time. You know, if you're not aware of time, if you just kind of you would think that if you're a brain cell in a dish, you would have no concept of time. Um, you follow, like, you know, if you have no outside influence, or you only have the outside influence that whatever the researchers give you, then you have the you shouldn't have a concept of time. But these things have a concept of time on their own, which means, you know, these things are conscious. These things are knowing, um, that, you know, you start wondering how many pieces of, you know, the human mind, how many bits and pieces, how many cells does that take up to make a person? Um, you know, it's probably one cell. You know, it's probably like one brain cell. And then, you know, the one brain cell said, well, okay, well, I need something that can control an arm, or I need something that can, you know, I need to communicate because I need this stuff, or I need to be able to see and see my environment and everything. So, you know, it started creating all this other stuff. I'm sure there's limitations, but, you know, each cell within the human body has the ability to understand and conceptualize time. So it is, it's a really weird concept, and we're starting to mess with that. And I think that um, we shouldn't. I mean, in that sense of research, it just feels evil. I mean, to me, it feels I don't know the word I'm looking for. Uh, you know, like it
it feels like something that we could be struck down for like Sodom and Gomorrah type shit. Um, I don't know. It just feels wrong. I mean, it feels like we're creating a monster of our own design. And, like I was going back to us creating robots, and you have people creating adult dolls and things like that, and eventually, then they're already putting AI and stuff in those. And they're probably going to put this kind of stuff in those dolls. So, you know, you're these people, these things will be subjected to the abuse of people who actually seek out these things to do that kind of abuse, and these everyone's talking about Epstein and everything else. Well, if the abuse is what they get off on, then they can create the human mind or the cells and stuff like that, and they can make they can make the form, and they can put the cells in there, and then they can just do what they want to, and no one would even know. It's a strange, sick concept, and it bothers me when I think about it. But anyway, I've already told you. Well, I want to go back to the eclipse. Now, when the eclipse happens, Spain is going to be able to see part of it, and when they have it, they're going to have this glowing gold rim along the top. It happened during the solar eclipse, and it's going to happen during the lunar eclipse as well. And a lot of people think that this is, like the ancients and everybody was referring to as the crown on the top. By the way, Bardo, are you ready for the JFK thing? I'm working on a bunch of bullet points to talk about, and I do think that we'll have a good turnout. I think if everybody can find us, I mean, I've actually had questions about it. I'm like, yeah, I said, the lines are open. You can call in and talk about it. I don't care. But it is what it is. But I think it'd be interesting and fun. And plus it'd give me another metric to see what happens at a slightly earlier time. But I mean, I really do like the midnight hour, because now tonight is like like last night I told you, I would do the show and then I would go to write. But tonight is actually when I try to catch up on a little bit of sleep. So after this show, if I can sleep, which I probably can't because I've done drunk 2 pots of coffee, I'll go and try to get a couple hours sleep, and then come back and do it all over again. Everybody's got a weird time here. You can start however you want to with it. I'm gonna let you lead with it, and we will go over as much as we can, as much as you feel like talking about. I don't mind if it's a 1 or a 3 hour show. Keep in mind I might need a break in between, but I don't mind if it's one of those shows. That's fine. I would like to actually sit down and really have a good discussion about JFK. The weird stuff and the regular stuff, because I'm sure that there's some of this stuff is interconnected together. There's a reason why people talk about everything in both sides, and I've heard theories that I've never heard before. Oh, that's fine. Bring no breaks, or I normally try, if I'm doing like longer shows, I normally try to do a break on the hour, but these smaller ones I don't mind. I thought we'd get call-ins tonight, but it's fine. It's cool. I mean, it ain't a big deal. Um,
Oh yeah, there. Remember the story about? Oh yeah, it's all interconnected. The interconnectedness of everything. Dirk Gently. Uh, there's a Wisconsin cat that stepped into the record books and was born with 29 toes. I don't know why I found that interesting. Um, Now, as of yesterday was the anniversary. I was talking about the Ring of Fire and everything. I never got to it, and I forgot all about it, and I got sidetracked and everything else. But yesterday was the anniversary of Vesuvius and Pompeii erupting, and I did not hear anyone talk about it. Not a soul. Um, Hold on a minute. News. And another thing on the UAP stuff, this I had been meaning. No one has requested it. I haven't, so I haven't really fooled with it. Like when the government was dropping those big files of UFO stuff, I would go through them and talk about them as I went along with it. But it kind of seemed like it was nothing real. I may have to go back and like revisit that. They dropped the fifth one a couple of weeks back, and I stopped working on the fourth of it. But anyway, it shows FBI records with thermal video showing two slow-moving black hot infrared anomalies, plus civilian encounters from the recent 2026. There's like back in the day, I had somebody help me with the like combing through the like alien records as we would get them. That guy's no longer with us. And I don't want to, set that type of thing on somebody else and have them, you know, have to deal with it unless they actually want to deal with it. And it's, maybe at some point, but I think we're going to, download them and create some kind of searchable database and maybe put together like a little video segment or series, that goes over interesting facts and things like that. What has been another thing that has been blocking me and bothering me? Every time something comes up of interest, I try to get an expert to come on the show. I'll reach out to a university. I'll call somebody that is, top of the line, and I'll tell them, I say, look, this is what I want to talk about. And for some reason, they seem interested to begin with, and then they back off. And I don't know. I didn't used to have that kind of rejection, and it seems like there's something is influencing people of the expert nature, or they're afraid that they would give information that is not true, or they're restricted on what they can say. You know, the stuff with the ticks and the alpha gal syndrome. I approached 5 different people. I tried to get them on board to discuss this, and if it was normal for the spread of these ticks, if groups or things could actually cause this transmission, and nobody would want to talk about it. Absolutely not. One kind of indicated why he wouldn't want to talk about it, and he kind of hinted around like he wasn't supposed to, but surely some of these other people don't really care and they're open about it. Or at least someone would come on and at least want to like stamp down the conspiracies or the misinformation about it, but they don't even want to do that.
Yeah, they're kind of like run with it, talk about whatever, and which is scary. Um, Now, I know you guys have heard everything about the flock stuff going on. Flock cameras, people cutting those down. I've talked about them early on. And everybody seemed like they're cool with that. Well, it's still a federal crime when you do mess with that. And now there's these wingnuts that have started 3D printing these covers to stick on there. Well, that's still a crime as well. And it's starting to have, and this is coming from the Democrat side. They're looking. They found another reason why they need to ban 3D printers, um, because it's interfering with their ability to invade our privacy. I'm sure the Republicans are on board with that as well. I don't think there's any way to properly fight these things and fight the invasion of privacy. They don't even want you wearing a mask anymore. That's the other thing. Now, we're going to fall back on Iran and Hormuz. If you've been following bits and pieces of it, and I really try not to think about it, but for a general aspect, you need to kind of keep your fangs in it a little bit so you can kind of figure out what's going on. And because there's always these like little crumbs of weird shit. And today, as you know, it's still escalating, regardless of what they're telling you online or, public news disclosure or whatever. But the Treasury, keep in mind, this is our money. Yeah, it is, but it's also trying to mess with another company's business, company's stuff too. I don't think they should put the cameras up in the first place, but I think we should figure out a proper way of handling that. Now, it's not a crime to put a public billboard in front of one. There's nothing wrong with that. Say flock go home or something like that. But I don't think we should be messing with their stuff. Just on the safe side. Patriots and civilians and stuff don't need to do silly things to get in the way of activities that they might be able to do later on to prevent all of this stuff. Smart, work smart, not stupid. But anyway, like I said, the Treasury has launched what is called Operation Economic Outcast. It is a economic campaign aimed at reopening the Strait of Hormuz and ending the standoff with Iran. And it is being flagged by experts as the most exposed to a new secondary sanctions. China's foreign ministry called the move illegal and unilateral and vows countermeasures. So we just pissed off China because we're taking money and oil and stuff out of their pockets. While Pakistan's interior minister called it significant progress after meeting with Iran's president, whoever the fuck Iran's president is now. I'm positive they don't have one at this point. But, so anyway, they're going to dump more of our money into this problem and do something. I don't really know. Honestly, for them to properly, and I'm pretty sure this wouldn't work. This is like an idea off the top of my head. They need to lock down both sides of the strait so that passengers and stuff could properly transfer. And we park Navy vessels along the way to intercept things as when Iran decides to do some kind of stupid shit. But it is what it is. if you've been following along, Supreme Court sided with Trump about the over limits of mail-in voting. I don't know how I feel about that. I think mail-in voting should be left up to individuals that, if you're disabled and you can't come in and vote and you do want to vote, then you should be able to vote that way. But for the most part, you should go and vote in person. That way, you know that your vote was at least, you did it in person, you did what you were supposed to do, and you can't say that, well, my vote didn't count or my vote didn't do whatever, if it's that important to you, unless you're disabled and you can't get out and everything else. And it sure sounds like we're trying to go to war with Canada. I mean, Canada, they're like, we put like a 50% tariff on all of Canada's goods and stuff like that. And Canada flipped back around and threatened us and put another 50% tariff on everything they import. And, they literally said, what are you going to do? Invade us, and with what army? And, they were like, well, are you serious? We have the biggest army. I hope we don't go to war with Canada. Yeah, I think they should bring back voting booths. I agree. I don't know if you care anything about Haiti, but there's roams and roams of heavily armed gangs now down there. Everywhere you look at, there's war and war and war and war. It didn't used to be that way. You look at Cuba, they're talking about war with America. You go to, either people wants to be like us or they want to go to war with us. And it sure feels like we're in a world war. Or at least we're getting there and everything is starting to happen. And, back to the Israel has been striking water desalination plants in Gaza again. I don't know. I still don't know how to feel about all that, guys. I don't know how to feel about Gaza stuff, and it seems like it should have been resolved by now to me. The pictures I saw of Gaza it's just not there anymore. Like, where are these people living and stuff? I don't know. I don't know. It seems like, okay, well, we're just done. We're just done. Yeah, yeah. In Greenland, the glacier, this was happened today. A large chunk of it, a Manhattan-sized chunk of it, broke away. It is considered the most significant halving event in years. And also, if you're following along with space stuff, Rocket Labs unveiled this thing called Ghost. It is a portable launching system that can send payloads into orbit from anywhere on Earth. Old song, WW3. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're going to war soon, guys. I do. Tighten up your bootstraps. They'll go up the line and down the line, and they'll utilize everybody as they use them. From media personnel to putting everybody on the front lines. And this is what it is. I don't know. I'm thinking about grilled cheeses tonight, guys, before I go to sleep. I don't know. Sorry, my brain is fragmented again. I was thinking about food. Maybe that'd be tomorrow. You really shouldn't eat when you go to sleep, or try to go to sleep. I mean, I get stomach cramps. Yeah, keep your powder dry if you have powder. You have to if you have more than 3 pounds now, and you have to register it. I'm not sure what he's talking about. But anyway, if this is a if by the way, anybody in chat, if you guys want to call in, the lines are open. Um, I'm kind of winging it until somebody does. From the and normally I cut it off about the hour mark if it's not that active, and it's active, but it's not active. You know, um. Oh yeah, watching Ukraine. I don't know about Ukraine either. I mean, I know that there's a lot of misinformation out there. I know that there's uh the problem is we speculate from home. Um, some of us might have insight inside of wars and conflicts and things like that, but the reality of the matter is we have no idea what's really going on. I know yesterday there was a C-13 that landed in Moscow. Okay, there was a C-13. I'm going to take if we're going to do that, I'm going to take a break on the hour and come back. Um, but there was a C-13 that landed in Moscow, and it was full of American vehicles with. Yeah, we haven't been. Our groups has not been in. I mean, there was no warning of nothing, and they all went to 1984 is a good idea. Yeah, but there's an American presence within Moscow right now, so I don't know what all that's about, but I do know and confirm that actually happened as of yesterday. And someone said that Pete Hagsworth, whatever his name is, they're supposed to be doing some kind of visit over there. Yeah, but we still don't really know. There's a thing called fog of war, and the thing with fog of war is we see what we see, we hear what we hear, and we understand what we see. This is human nature, common nature, or whatever. And we're as dumb as the information can provide. When World War II started and World War One, people didn't even know we were in a world war until they were actually enlisted to go to the world wars, and it is and I kind of feel like that's starting to happen now, but we got some early warning that it is happening, and it's troubling. Anyway, political stuff, war stuff sucks. It does, guys. Um, yeah, like now. But like this, it's not active. They're not rounding up everybody, and they're not doing everything. They're just talking about it, and we still have the same amount of conflicts that we have had. They're just growing in size. Um, it's kind of the way it is. Kind of the way the behavior of it all. Anyway, we're at the 1 o'clock hour. I'm gonna go smoke. We'll come back. Maybe we'll get a caller. Stay around. Taking 5 minute break. If you guys decide you want to call in and talk about ghosts and aliens and God knows what else, let me know. I forgot to click the music. Yeah.
When the final streetcar sighs its last breath into the fog, and the veil between worlds grows thin, that is when we answer the unknown caller. We listen for the whispers that drift through the static from the other side of the line.
Okay, breakdown's over. I don't know if I was going 5 minutes. Probably wasn't going 5 minutes. Oh, I see the word. My grandfather worked for the government for 80 years. Updates. Well, that is, yeah, that's the flash interface stuff. That is, yeah. So, well, I know. I mean, you do know that I have the other voices on their stories that are loaded on the other side, right? I don't know if you know that. I started doing that again. The problem with the Robo Voice is there were so many complaints with it that it just drove people crazy, I guess, and everything fluctuated. Um, Oddly, there's like this little in the YouTube app you can go in there and they've added that voice in there and I don't know why. Strange. Um, as for Edward, there is some stories coming down the pipeline. Yeah, yeah. Well, I have to. I mean, I took a huge break. I had to. But there's some Edward stories coming down the line. I'd been working on when I was out of it. I had a lot of bad stuff going on. I don't want to revisit that. But but yeah, I have, I don't know, I posted some stuff, some earlier stuff. Yeah, they do. um, I posted some earlier stuff about the Edward things. It's some of the old journals and things, and they're coming to either read or auto reader. I don't know what the condition is. The, go check out the new work. It's loaded into go to the main page and you should see it. There's a bunch on there, dude. I mean, there is a ton. I mean, I have been pumping out anywhere from 2 to 3 stories a day, plus doing stuff like this at night. I'm starting to work on other channels. I don't know. I've kind of like folded myself into doing all this work now. Decided to come back and like really hit it hard. And while I was on break, I was still writing and putting together stuff. And so yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. If you go back to the main page, you'll see everything. Maybe I can pull it up on screen. I'll show you. Uh, let's see. How do I get to it? Can't remember. Okay. Like, let's see here. And I need to add source, display capture, another display capture. No, we don't want that. That's not what we want. That's not what we want. Oh, here we go. Okay, if you see here, this is the live thing when it pops up. But you got the podcast thing. But if you scroll down for you, and then you go to videos, and you'll see all the new stuff. All right, thank you. You'll see all the new stuff. What's been going on is Empty Cemeteries was the last one. I did the Moon Remembers, the Great Water War, Standing Alone. That's a series. Compliance Boys. That's a thing that works off of on Saturdays. I'm working on. All of these. There's a bunch. There's quite a few. And then you can go into the back end and go to the videos, of course. But yeah, I mean, I've been tossing them out there. But interface is the continuation of the 80. Grandpa worked for the 80 years and stuff. But then you get to link rot stuff like that. I really want to work on this again, and that's the old trailer for that. But anyway, more and more stuff is coming out, like 2 to 3 videos a day, and it is what it is. But yeah, you should be able to locate it. Plus, like I said, if you go to the description, let me show that again. Hold on a minute. If you go to the description on these.
Sanitary director for one of the largest municipal.
All right, and right here, you see the support stuff, but here is the more channels, and interface is reborn is where I'm starting to put the interface stuff, and then Vivid Visions. This is kind of like a dream channel. I haven't updated yet, but it's in the works. Midnight Confessions is where people basically call in like you do here, except it's more like an anonymous confession thing. Reel to Reel is another series and storyline that I have been hammering on. It's got some push and pull. A lot of people seem to be wanting to work on that, but yeah, like I said, you should be able to find something of interest. And there's another one. There's a thing called Flashback Comics that's coming up, and That's basically where I rant on, the comic book movies and whatever. And I'm pretty sure there'll be some more. It was, and it still is. You can go down there and find it. I mean, you just got to go in and look. I mean, it's got like 9 million views now. I, it's hard to keep up with. I mean, people love it. People like it. They still watch it. Good, good. My house is full of comics. I mean, on the walls and stuff. We got them in boxes too. I mean, I have a buddy that owns a comic store, and I help him out there sometimes. Or used to. I really don't have time for it, and he doesn't have time for it either. But it's kind of like sets there now. But it's full of stuff, and that's the other thing. There's a lot of people that don't mess with comics anymore, not like they used to. There's like collectors. People who buy the comics and they kind of like put them in bags, and they don't read them anymore. It's just like a item. And that kind of got to where it was like sort of depressing for me, because you have somebody come in, buy a comic, and you're like, okay, cool, you read this, I read this, and like, no, I don't read it, I just collect it. And that's the case I would see every single time. It's hard to find people who read comics books or anything anymore. It is a weird version of society. It's like cards. Everybody's obsessed with cards. We did cards out there, like Magic, and I've never really been big on Pokemon or anything, but it's two books, and there's a third one coming in. And a fourth one. I mean, there's the historical. I'm gonna see if I can find it. I posted it a while back. Let me see if I can find it. This is an old post. Let me bring this back up again. These are posts. I'm going through looking for them. And let's see. Then there's a ton of podcasts on there too, but those need to be redone. I never did these in the stories yet. That's where, okay, loop number 6. Okay, where are we here? Where is... I don't know where they are. I have them on here somewhere. Okay, I don't know. That they're... Sorry, I thought I had them up here somewhere, but there was stuff on the... Maybe they delete the post after so long. I don't know. I gotta check that. But there's Mantel story. Okay, yeah, they're there. You just check them out, stuff. But um this new CERN stuff will be coming sooner or later. Well, it's kind of like a modification of it, and then you'll just have to wait and see. It's when I'm able to work on that mentally, and I got a lot of stories in my head that I kind of got to get out, and
they they sort of just come to me holistically. So I'll take a nap and I'll wake up and I'll have a story in my head, and then I'll go hammer it out real quick, and then it usually ends up here. Or if there's one that I had been working on, or if I am to the point where I can't think of anything, then I go to like one of the notebooks that I've been working on for 20 years, and I'll extract a story from there. And yeah, I mean there's a thing on there called The Land of Odd. It's a whole book, a couple books actually, and it's a wild concept. It's based on a true story and stuff. But anyway, well, I guess, well, it's 1:18 in the morning. Yes, polycarbonate love story. That is one of them. I've spoken about that more times than I'd like to. Actually, trying to film that as a short film. I have been working on that. I've been trying to, get the funding and people together and everything else. And I don't know, people. I mean, oh, here we go. Somebody. It's just spam caller. I'm not sure what that was. Okay, that's a spam, I guess. Did somebody just try to call? Anybody try to call? If that was you, it said you were a spam caller. I don't have any control of that. You have to call back, and I'll have to answer it real quick. Somebody trying to get me to buy something online. That would be funny. Yeah, okay. I think maybe it was a spam caller. I don't see the number here. Where'd it go? Where'd the number go? Where'd the number go? I don't know how to get to those, like the lost numbers. There it is. Hello, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello, I said you're on the air. Who is this?
Oh, I'm on the air. Okay.
Yeah. It says you're a spam caller, so I had to. I don't know why it said that.
A lot of people tell me that they get spam calls. They pull up and send spam calls.
Yeah. Those we're seem to be plagued by them. So, well, anyway, this is unknown caller. What's on your mind?
Yeah, my name is Jed, by the way. You call me Jed.
Okay.
And I've been watching you past couple of nights, and I like this call in. There was another channel that used to do call ins, and they stopped doing it. And I was like, man, that was the best thing ever. And I commend you for doing that. For having people give their opinions, their takes on life and the things they see.
Yeah, it's a kind of a a lost art. A lot of people, I think, have forgotten how to do it. And I come from the Art Bell era. I run a show that was kind of like side by side, like Art Bell ran, and people used to call in all the time, and no one wants to do that anymore. And there's a lot of weird stuff that happens out there that people can talk about and people can go over, or they may have something on their mind they want to get off their chest. Is there anything going on in your neck of the woods that you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, I call because well, anytime. But I mean, I'm new to the show, so I'll be listening. But I've been listening for a while. But yeah, I want you to, what I'm about to tell you is keep it as entertainment purposes only. Okay? Just keep it there.
Okay.
Are you still there, bud?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
Okay, yeah, we keep it entertainment purposes only. But I just, I just want to get it off my chest and just see what you might think.
Sure.
A
Sure.
couple of years ago, right? I say about 10 years ago, there was a video came out, right? And I, I do remember. I don't remember her name, but the video's on. It's on YouTube. It's been out for a while. And this woman, it just when I seen her video, it kind of it tugged at my heart what she was saying, and she heard it from you got to see the video, but she was telling about that orange man. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The orange, yeah, the orange man was gonna come in and he was gonna do the biggest roundup of all the what, and he was gonna do it on all the major cities. He was gonna round them all up. And I was like, she spoke, I can hear in her voice that she was genuine. I knew that she was spot on, right? And
And,
10 years later, go ahead.
and what was she um, like a psychic or something, or like, or
No, she was not a psychic. She was not a psychic. She was saying that she worked at a certain joint
Oh,
that they
okay.
were all hanging out.
Okay. Okay. I got you now. Okay.
Yeah, and she said that he was gonna come and do and get them all out of here at the same time. And I'm thinking about it, like 10 years later, and this was happening now. And I'm like, ever since I seen if I would have never seen that woman's video 10 years, this is right before before he even swore in. It's like, how did this woman have all this? How does she know this stuff? And I'm like, if that woman just told you what was going to happen, and but the one thing she did say that I might have to spell it out. I don't like to say it out loud. But she said that he was gonna come in and gather all of them up, and he was going to do the MARSHALLAW. You hear what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He,
I mean,
he was going to he was going to do that in the entire country. He was going to do that. So now it's like you see everything going on, and I ask myself like, is that what's going to be? Is that going to be the end game? Is that what's going to happen? That I think about that,
sir,
and I just
I think that it's part of it. I think that what we're seeing is a the beginning, or yeah, think of everything that's going on like a big puzzle. Like when I was growing up, my grandma was obsessed with puzzles. These 1,000-piece, 5,000-piece puzzles. She would make me sit down and help her put them together. Drove me absolutely crazy. And everything that's going on is like part of a puzzle, part of a puzzle piece. There's something they want to achieve, and they want to build, and there's a pre-plan in place that they want to do. And I think you're right. And this woman, like you said, she seemed to have like foreknowledge of what was going to happen, and it's happening now. Um, and when we see stuff like that, when we see somebody say, okay, well, this is going to happen, and then you think to yourself, nah, this isn't going to happen. Not, we might see this or that, but nothing like this. And then it starts coming down the line, and we actually see it. It kind of shocks us and messes with us, and
yeah.
it's part of the plan. This is Dave had this idea for a while, man.
And you think about it, it explains why. And I'll tell this, one thing that really is really heartbreaking for me, and I think that they're using the oldest trick in the book is to get color to fight against color, to get race against race. And that's what is heartbreaking, is that these people, that they're going at each other, about the race things, like,
Well, we're all brothers and sisters.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I don't understand why they, people might joke around and stuff like that. And of course, we have generations that we'll say this and that, and there's probably certain things you probably shouldn't say, and you might offend somebody. I get all that, but when it all boils down to it, we're all brothers and sisters, and we don't need to be at each other's throats and trying to hurt each other when
Exactly.
there's a bigger thing in the works.
Exactly. And that's the heartbreaking part is that that you can't. They don't see it. They rather be amongst. They rather fight amongst each other, and that's the heartbreaking part.
It is, sir.
But
It is.
yeah, it really really is. And just the other day they talked about. I don't know if you caught. It's going viral. They talk about the Texas Roadhouse and you heard about that. And
No,
I'm like,
I don't think I've heard about the Texas Roadhouse thing.
yeah, that's all over. It's all over. It's on almost every channel. They said that there was some a racial group was saying that they were spitting on black people's food and things like that. And it's like now everybody, yeah, it's all over. You could type it up and look it up. It's like there was a racist group. And they said they're spitting on the biscuits and things like that. And it's like, man, what is going on?
People just acting silly, man. Um,
Yeah,
it's
it's
gonna be.
like it,
I don't understand why this has been something that's been so hard to get away from. Um, people.
and it's like go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, you're
Sorry.
fine. I'm just thinking out loud. I have conversations with people of color all the time, and this is what comes up, and we're like, well, why can't why does it seem so hard for people to on both sides, why does it seem so hard for people to get away from the fact that um there's not a lot of difference in us, when it, when it is, back in the day there was, the what people threw up there and what people made us think about each other, but in reality, you know, we're all poor and we're all living in a ghetto.
Exactly. Exactly. We're all trying to keep our head above water at the time. This economy is already bad as it is, and it's why the last thing we need to do is be fighting each other. And we need, that's the last thing we need. We need to just come together and try to live in harmony.
Now,
You know.
I have friends up in Detroit, and I have friends up in Flint, Michigan. They've been without power for I think 12 days now, and it has cascaded into my opinion, a point of no return. Um, it's bad up there.
Sad.
It's very bad.
That's bad. And thing is that we're that vulnerable. It's like if all they got to do is cut the power off, and people would just go at it. Imagine that happened until the entire country. They cut the power off on all of us. Hell, we be back to a little house on the prairie. We be back to the Stone Age.
Well,
You know.
I don't know if we'd be the Little House on the Prairie, but we will definitely we will definitely be at each other's throats for a long time until everyone can kind of like, okay, well, we kind of need to work together somehow, and um,
I,
and I don't know if it's going to happen.
I hope it don't, but I mean, it just I hate to say it, but the scary part is it's possibility. This might be the dark winter for all we know. This might be the dark winter that they've been talking about for years.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't heard that one in a while. I mean, I haven't heard anyone call it, say the dark winter in a while. That's interesting.
Yeah, this could be it, and I'm just all we can do. I mean, I don't know what religions where you stand, but I believe in our Lord Jesus Christ. He is our Savior. He died for our sins. He is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess that He is Lord. And we need to and pursue Christ as much as we can in this final hour that we're living in.
you know, they say that we will enter into a point of darkness, and that would be the true test.
Yes, yes. And right now, all right, this point, like I tell my wife and I tell, family, like, all we have is Christ. He's all we have. We cannot put our trust in man, and we gotta pray for our fellow brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter what color, because when you die up in heaven, there's no flesh. Everybody's spirit. That's what people need to understand when it comes to the racism. Is that right here we are here in the natural, but in the supernatural we are spirits. You get my drift.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, the
You know, I mean that I can agree with that we're definitely, you know, I don't think we're any different
spiritual
here,
being.
but you know, spiritual beings. I don't. Well, I mean, I think it might be a conceptual thing. I think that when you cross over, if you have that in your head that everyone is different, then you know that's probably how you're going to look at it too. Um, which is probably sad. You know that's you know that might indicate where we get sent. You get what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah.
if you're, I don't know. It is real hard to understand what makes a good person and a bad person, because if you base it on everything that's happened through society and these people that are claiming to be, you know, like religious leaders and stuff that claim, well, these guys are good people. Well, they've done a lot of bad things too, and I don't know. It gets really complicated, and I hope that you know maybe everything is forgiven and you go there and maybe you have a change and um but you know I worry about all the stuff I done in my childhood when it comes to that kind of thing. But yeah, yeah, it is a. I agree with you 100%, and I do think something's coming down the line. Jed, if you ought to go and check out Project 2026. That is something they dropped um this past election, and it seems like it's something they're following the playbook. There's the PDF online. You can look it up on the phone too. But it indicates all of the stuff that they are doing. Do you have Hulu by chance?
No, no, sir.
Okay. Well, well, when I try to use a a something to maybe you can. I don't know if you can see it online either. But there's a show. There's a book series too. The book is good. But it's called The Handmaid's Tale, and it is a good indicator, or at least it feels kind of like what is going on now. And like it shows the separation or the crack in like the United States and two separate groups. You know, one becomes super right wing religious, and then there's the left wing, and it's you know, anyway. It really feels like what's going on right now, and um, uh, I just hope that we're not headed to that type of dystopian reality. It, but it feels like we are. It feels like we're being pushed further and further into a very strange and weird world, and you know, just prepare.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, from what it looks like, I said, I mean, right now, I do believe that we are walking, we're walking a tightrope on a thread. That thing could, any day now, something can happen, and who knows, we can be back to the Stone Age. That's how vulnerable we are,
We are.
and it's
We
like
are.
anything can happen.
We are.
And
We can be without. Every one of us can be without power, and I think we're going to be without water here soon.
exactly,
Clean water. I
I,
mean,
I think and you know, and that's the scary part, you know, because you know everybody has families, and we don't want. I wish we can go back to the '80s, but I wish we can go back. I wish we can get that time. Era will never get back, but the time we're living in is just all we can do is be prayed up and prepare and to be ready. We need to learn to love each other and love our neighbors as much as we love ourselves. That's one of the greatest commandments of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And just know that, you know, go ahead.
I mean, we do, and I agree with you. And you know, this is, I think that, you know, back in the day, you would start with your neighbors and stuff, but now, you know, more than ever, we need to you know, do outreaches and stuff like this on the internet, and you know, call and talk to people, and express how we feel and how we think things, and because the you know, that is one of the reasons behind this show, is because I feel like people are isolating themselves in a bubble. Um, you know, you have a feeling or concept, you see a video, you go on, you type a comment, and you know, that's where it sits, and you might get into an argument with a stranger, and you can't have a decent conversation with them because, you know, it is either one sided or another, and for it's almost to the point where you can get in trouble for that kind of thing now, and it's silly. And but these are this is good. But man, I do thank you for calling.
Hey, God bless you, brother, and just know that you know we 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 living in dark times,
We are.
and
We
I'm
are.
not
Um,
very dark times. Go ahead.
yeah, I'm getting ready to tell you, call back anytime. Um, lines are always open.
Hey, God be brother, Jesus Christ, the Lord, and I'll be calling in from time to time. You know, it's good talking to you, and you know, I just want to thank you for having this show where we can call in and just tell our stories and things like what have you.
Yeah, anything that's on your mind, anything you want to talk about, you're more than welcome to call in
God,
whenever. That's fine.
yeah. God bless you, brother. God bless you, brother. You have a good night, and I'm gonna stay tuned. All right.
All right, man. I thank you much.
Thanks, brother. All right, you have a good one. All right, bye bye.
All right, whoever was next in line can go ahead and call if they want to. The line's open now. Um, I want to thank him again for calling. You know, I'm sure that is the sentiment, a lot of feeling that people have been feeling, and wondering, and going over them. Yeah, history has shown people usually act the cost of doing nothing because it's greater than the cost of standing up. That is true, man. That is very much true. You know, I was on, of course, I was on the internet. I don't know how. It seems like it's like the starting thing of, you know, like when you begin a concert. I mean, a conversation. I was on the internet, but anyway, like I said, I was on the internet a couple days ago, and I was looking at a video, and there was this woman, supposedly historian. She says, "Oh, it's not true that history don't repeat itself." History does repeat itself. I mean, in everything that I've seen, there is a precedent that certain things have happened before, that we seem to see the same thing cycle over and over and over again. And eventually, some evil person's going to get it right, and they're going to make bad things happen. And it's going to affect us all. It's going to hurt us all, which is sad. You know, we all need to figure out this great human experiment, and you know, try to do what's best for us, and what's best for the planet, and what's best for the universe. You know, if people really want to go to space and do stuff, then, you know, we need to take care of stuff here. Yes, come back Saturday at 11 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do the JFK spinoff. we're going to try to go into as much as we can. I expect this to be 2 to 3 hours long. Will you fill that up for me? And but it might go longer. Who knows? But bring your popcorn because it could get interesting. And I'm going to try to have a whole bunch of experts in the comments at least, and or at least people who think they're experts, because this is one of those topics where everybody has their opinion, and it goes from mild to loud, and it is what it is. But guys, I think I might need to go to bed. Be here tomorrow if you would. Yeah, Thursday. Thursday the lines will be open at 12. Well, the let me rephrase myself. The lines are open 24/7. If you want to call in and leave a voicemail, I will play. And it's a voicemail you want me to play, make sure you tell me that. But if it's a voicemail that you want me to play on air, if it's something you want to talk about, if you don't want to call into a live show and say it, but you're okay with leaving it on a voicemail, go ahead and leave it on the voicemail, and I will play it back at the end of these shows, or maybe the beginning or whatever. But if you have anything you want to say, you're more than welcome to call in and leave a voicemail, and I will play it. But the calls will, the like I said, the lines are open 24/7 if you want to leave the voicemails, but the live lines open at midnight most nights at Eastern Standard Time. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me tonight. Thank you for helping out. And as I said, I like where this is going. Stay paranoid, my friends. Good night. Get some sleep.